Wookiee walks in. Dude is straight up just the guy in the mask, and then his body is not Wookiee. He's just his normal self underneath it, and you can tell because of how big the head is compared to the rest of the body. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cantina here on the Genreverse YouTube channel. We are here with our Star Wars The Acolyte Episode 3 reaction, an episode that was already being teased across the internet as divisive, and I believe it is. I believe it is. From what I see on the internet. You guys should totally subscribe here on the Genreverse. I'm Kyle, by the way, joined today at least by Cam Clark, one of the senior editors at LRMonline.com, one of the co-hosts of Watch More Football on the Genreverse Sports Channel. But you're watching the Genreverse, Star Wars content, anime content, general geek pop culture, entertainment content, live streams, doing gaming, watch-alongs. We've had some interviews with anime voice actors and whatnot. Really great channel, so get subscribed. I mentioned the sports channel. Check that out. You can actually join in the 2024 Euro League with Watch More Football. There's a code there. Make your predictions. Have some fun with the British guys over there across the pond. Yeah, all of our podcasts go up on your favorite podcast apps, and the Genreverse does have some merch. And I mentioned LRMonline.com. That is where Cam writes a lot of the stories, including a lot of Star Wars stories. So yeah, check that out. The Acolyte, guys, episode 3. I've got like a schedule of how I want things to go, but I really don't know how well it's all going to go down. But we usually like to start these things with just like a general, like, paragraph-ish, maybe a little less type review, and then give our grades. So let's start with you, Cam. What is your Acolyte episode 3 kind of, Twitter review and grade?
I mean,
Whoa,
give it a 1.
Hold on. See, this is why to this day I still like to have Zoom recording for backup audio. Okay, we're good, Cam. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, I could probably give it a 1-word review. I mean, I think yours will be a lot more than 1 word, which would be meh. It wasn't that good. Found it and when I did say this to you, I found it a fairly dull episode to have the entire episode focused on that one bit. I do wonder if it might have worked better splitting that up with some modern, some what's happening in the modern time as well, a little bit. But not as bad as what some people thought of it. I think grade-wise, it's probably. I didn't think it was absolutely terrible, so I'll go like C-.
Okay, so last week you gave the opening a B-, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Did this episode change any of that?
Decent.
Probably not.
Probably not, because I don't know how much you want me to get into it just now, but I kind of think that they're building up a mystery box, and it's all going to depend on how satisfying it all is when the mystery becomes unraveled, and whether it is actually like, oh, I would like to go back and watch that again, because we'll be seeing things that from a different point of view. I think we'll definitely see the events of episode 3 from a different point of view, whether that be Maze, Saul's, somebody, I don't know, but we will, I'm sure of it. In fact, we've even seen in one of the trailers a scene that looks as if it's from someone else's point of view, because we saw what appeared to be Kilnaka attacking Torben in a trailer, and it looks as if Torben has his scar when May wakes up. So that's something I think we're going to get later on. It really just depends if they're building all this up and it's a bit unsatisfying, then I'm going to be like, it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. I don't mind a slow build up as long as the impact at the end is really strong, and that remains to be seen for me.
I agree. It was very boring, but like I said in on our Discord and in our private Slack for you, me, and Shockey, I found it very boring, but at the same time infuriating. Infuriating because a lot of the writing was really bad. Whether that is the way they're building the mystery here, or legitimate dialogue, and the way they wrote out, say, the ceremony and the chants, man. Chants are hard. Don't get me wrong. Chants are hard to do and not sound lame. But they put no effort into that sounding not lame at all. That was one of these, and not only are the words themselves don't really make a lot of sense. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. It sounds like I mentioned to you. It sounds like tween poetry drivel. It's so awful, right? But the way they sing it too was bad. Like, they put no effort into making it even remotely tolerable. I wanted to get out of that scene as soon as it started.
Yeah, that was probably one of my least favorite scenes. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And so I had issues with some bad writing. There's parts of bad acting. And I don't know how much of it is direction, because the director could be like, play it this way, and the actor does what the director says, and it comes out trash. Not necessarily the actor's fault. Sometimes it might be the actor's fault. There's a lot of wishy-washy moments. There's just, it was not good. It's not good at all. It feels choppy. It feels awful. That's a word that's like on our thumbnail. So it committed the sin of being boring while also being really bad at being boring. It's not even like a good movie that you're like, yeah, man, this is really Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight is a great movie, and every scene is filled with great detail, good sound design, great cinematography, but there are parts of that movie that are boring, but they're not bad. You know what I'm saying? I hope the audience kind of grasps that. Yeah.
You are right in that. If I'll let you go on. We'll get to that.
Okay. So it commits the sin of being boring, and then it is actually bad, and on so many ways. And there's nothing redeeming of this episode. And like you said, it feels like it should have just been like flashbacks that were cut up into other parts of other episodes, or maybe an episode mostly set in the future with only snippets of this backstory. And all of that, guys, if you notice, is without us even touching on all force or all females using the force to create life. We'll get into that later. I straight up give this an F. This was a failure on so many levels. If the start of this was mostly harmless, which is how I phrased it and how we kind of phrased it in our reviews last week, where it's like, it's all right, it could be better, it could be worse, we'll see where it goes. This missed everything for me. I'm angry about it, and I give it an F. A wholeheartedly, you failed, all of you guys, from top to bottom. Yeah, those are my thoughts. What were you going to bring up?
Going with it. I can't remember now. What were we talking about?
I was calling the writing bad. I was calling some of the acting and directing. I said I didn't know where things like that. If you want to talk about the story and the writing and some of the stuff with the story, I mentioned some of the kind of flip floppiness with the twin girls themselves, May and Osha. Both of them seem to sometimes switch, and this is another thing where there might be some, again, bad writing, bad directing, because both of them show anger. Okay, there at the beginning of the episode, Osha uses the force to kind of hold the butterfly, but then lets go, and then May is using the force to really hold the butterfly, lets go, and then grabs it again. Osha is reserved. are Osha at first is fine with the ceremony that's coming up, but by the time the ceremony comes up, she's really against it without any real discussions.
I think that's true, because the first thing she says to me is that she's worried about the ceremony. Literally, the first thing of why she's out there on her own is because
but she's mostly positive about it. Or correction. May was the one I think was one of them starts off nervous, and by the time you get to the actual ceremony, it's completely opposite. And then the same thing with the Jedi. One of them is all about it, and then not for it, and then all about it. You have all these ups and downs with their emotions on everything, and it's not so much as in the way kids are. It's literally, it feels jarring, and that's why I said, are there some switcheroo things? They have their whole I am with you, you're with me, so. to become one type thing. I'm starting to wonder, was there some sort of force switch? Are they literally one person that has been split in half, and that's why we're getting some of these weirdnesses? I went back and tried to re-watch it, and there's definitely at the beginning less anxiety. Not saying that there was no anxiety, but there's less anxiety in Osha than there is by the time you get to the ceremony. And then there was some anxiety in May throughout, not necessarily a whole bunch in one spot, but then by the time you get to the ceremony, she's all about it, ready to go. And again, you can have that happen. You can have someone against something at the start of a story and then for it at the end of it, and vice versa. But you got to show that journey. I don't feel like they showed any journeys there. Other wishy-washy parts in the writing. You have the Jedi show up. We're going to take this by force. We're going to be really mean about it, and if you guys don't do it, we're going to raise hell. But then they just discuss it, and she's like, "Okay, pretty please. All right, cool. We'll test them. Thanks, guys." And just like the witches themselves, at first are all like, "You will not take these children." And then it's like, you know what? You're right. You should totally test them. There's no actual conflict resolution, and it literally is from a 10 amped up to, you know what? We should test them. They literally have the main witch, Mom Anasia or whatever, sit there in one scene go, you guys must choose exactly what you want to be. No one knows you better than you type stuff. And then literally like moments later is like, you're a kid. I mean, things are going to change for you, because it doesn't seem like she's going to make the decision that she wants her to make, but it doesn't come off as a parent trying to influence someone that way. It literally came off as them not knowing the lines that they wrote for an earlier scene, where it's like you got the choice is yours, yada yada, empowerment. You're a kid. The things that you want now aren't going to be the things you want later, which is true. Don't get me wrong, that's a legit freaking thing, but that's not the way it's played out. And if that's the way they meant it to play out, they did a really sucky job at executing it. We're led to believe the Jedi have this deep dark secret, this terrible thing that they've done. I don't think the Jedi actually went and murdered anyone. I think there might be some Sith stuff. You and I have talked about this offline a little bit. Like the Sith Acolyte, maybe the other mom, the one that's the same species as Darth Maul, maybe she is actually in with the dark side. When you first see Saul, he's very out of breath and very like desperate to get these kids. Maybe they know there's Sith there, and that's the whole situation. But I don't think the Jedi, it's going to end up being just like how shit was in some of those MCU shows, where you're like, you know what, these guys are bad guys, but they're not too bad. They're bad enough that we want you to think they're really, really bad via trailers and stuff, but not really that bad because we can't commit. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Any counters to that, Cam?
Yeah, I mean, a couple. I think I don't get I really don't get the thing. For me, Osha, right from the start, was just reluctant. I think that reluctance grew as it went on, and it was definitely influenced by the Jedi. I think the plan of the witches was to get them to lie in their tests and just get the Jedi to piss off peacefully, because they knew, they said themselves, if they kill those Jedis, they'll have the entire Republic on top of them before they know it. This is supposed to be somewhere where they can use the Force in their own way without being persecuted. But I also think there's a lot more going on that we're not seeing as well. There's definitely something happened. I mean, there's no way all those bodies get killed by the fire. I mean, right, this is going to a different point, so I'll not do that. So I kind of disagree. I felt the kind of Osha and May thing went the way it was supposed to do. I think Anasaya was trying to provide a peaceful solution, but not force May to stay. Osha to stay. But I think some of the other ones in her coven would have. And we don't really understand why that is yet. I think there's maybe a bit more information to be found out on that. I mean, that's about it, really, in terms of a rebuttal to what you said, to be honest.
Like I said, some of the issues I have with some of the what I've been calling wishy-washy type stuff, maybe that's coming, like I said, from the way lines are delivered. Because like I said, it's all like, this will be the way it is. You know what? Not really. There's no like transition. There's no movement from your hard stance to the negotiation to the resolution. It's literally like, it will be this way. No, it won't. Okay. And then they're like, we accept your. It doesn't flow well, man, at all.
It is a little bit plasticky, in terms of like the acting and everything like that. It's not like, you don't really get that feeling that there's time for the actors to really show their emotions. It kind of feels a little bit Ahsoka in that way, that they've just got to jump from scene to scene to scene because they've got this story to get in without really, directors go, no, take this from a different angle, do that. That doesn't feel like it's happening. And I don't know whether it's the actors or the like. There's a lot of people been saying Saul's really good, and I'm like, I think Lee Jung-Jae is a very good actor. I'm not seeing any
character's not great.
Astounding me about Saul yet. Maybe it will come.
Maybe.
I liked him better in the first 2 episodes, but in that one there, kind of just didn't get where he was coming from. That's weird, but he almost has this like sympathetic, emotional when he's hugging her at the end and that. And I know they're saying, right, they've built a connection there. He's still got a hologram, or they're trying to play that up. But why? I don't. Yeah, why? And maybe that's because we don't know some information yet. I get that. And sometimes you can play the mystery box too much, and I think you also have to look at that this is a Star Wars show, right? And you can say in one respect, okay, it's a Star Wars show. We need to dumb things down a little bit. But they actually haven't done that. They've not tried to do that. But it's not got that sophistication where they've thought about the lines and thought about them with hand orders. And every line, means something. It's some of the dialogue, and I'm not necessarily saying about the delivery, but the way it's been written's a little bit. Wishy-washy is fair. It is fair to say that, and I'm not going to turn around here and that was a great episode and you're crazy for not liking it. I just don't quite get how you and Shockey hated it quite as much.
Oh my god,
so much more than me, because I've seen worse episodes of Star Wars so far.
There's been awful things. There was like
stuff in Boba Fett,
Kenobi,
stuff in Ahsoka that I thought was worse.
Ahsoka.
But at the same time, there was stuff in Ahsoka
Mando 3
better than this, and there was stuff in Boba that was better than this as well. So it's all been so mid at the moment. I'm waiting for some heights, and I've not really seen them yet. They haven't come in. I definitely didn't hear it as much as you. It would work for me if the Sith have been. I mean, this is a show, and I'm sure Shockey would say this as well. It's supposed to be from a Sith show, and we were excited about that, and we really haven't seen them yet, apart from, May, who's been on screen far less than Osha so far, and she's not really a Sith. She doesn't understand. No. You don't feel that she understands and is, yes, I agree to be part of this Sith. That's not what's going on there. She's not even got a lightsaber. You feel that she's being tested by this Sith Lord, which we don't know whether it's the Master or the Apprentice, etc. And I know that they're building up to them, but at the same time, that's us 3 episodes now, and we haven't really seen too much of them. And it could be a bit dark. They could have just played with some of the things run about to give us that. Like, I'll give you a good example, right? So see if the Sith pick up May after that, and they show that in a later episode, then my criticism would be a nice little nugget to make you go, would have been, see when she's looking at that tree in the end, if the Sith Lord Sith Lords had walked up to her and said hello, and spoke to her, so we knew they were there. Like, that would be a nice tease to think, okay, it makes me think what's going on elsewhere. And you and I have discussed there's a lot of theories been online that the 2 Sith were possibly there at that ceremony. They probably didn't like the ceremony. The one thing I would say is this, right? And why did they put this in? It doesn't make any sense, because the Jedi hadn't arrived yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene when Mother Isaiah is doing the Force thing. She's teaching everybody, all right? Mm-hmm. And she pushes May and Osha to the floor and says, because they're fighting, and says, you never know when your enemies are going to attack you. And then suddenly the Zabrak woman and her look at each other like they've sensed something, right? Yeah. And she walks out to this cavern and she looks about and she sees nothing. Now, the Jedi don't arrive till the ceremony. There was no Jedi there sneaking about or anything like that we know. No, they could maybe have something like that, like the Jedi sneaked in or something like that. But it would be a nice link in if that's when the Sith actually arrived. And especially if, rather than being, we just turned up, haha, we're the Sith and we're here to annoy you. What if they had already had some dealings with them and that they were involved in helping them to create this child that they can't do in a normal biological sense,
Yeah, and
what if that was part of it?
And that's part of there's some theories that the Zabrak, whatever lady, Creole, Mama Creole, something like that, Quarrel, whatever it is, that she herself has dealings with the Sith. And sure,
Zabrak, so these she things looks a bit like Darth Maul.
That's what some people are saying. You know me. I don't. I hate how much George Lucas pigeonholed so much of Star Wars, including stupid shit like lightsaber colors really mattering and dictating what type of Jedi or Force user you are. God, George, you suck sometimes, dude. So I to me it's not, she's got horns, she must be bad, but that's what some people are theorizing, because her body isn't apparently seen in the aftermath.
Neither's some of the other witches. Though you don't see her body at all either.
I think someone said they are claiming someone is, but yeah. Something's up.
Those bodies are not burned bodies. But, they have not been caught in a fire. These are all.
And they also don't look like
the fire's not going to stop them.
Yeah, and they also don't look like they've been hacked up by lightsaber blades or have a bunch of shots in them.
They don't. They don't. No.
But that being said, and this is one of my things I was going to go over in my gripes. Just because we don't see blade cuts or bullet holes or even burns on the bodies in those scenes, it doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't write it as they died in the explosion. That could still be the case because
that's Shockey's
Cam
point of view. He thinks it's been played straight, and I just can't understand that. But
because
if he's right, then it's shocking.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why. They're lazy. They're so lazy. I mentioned like script supervisors and stuff in a conversation we were having. I was like, people today making movies and television shows, they seem to be lazy. They miss so much. I understand mistakes happen. You get a Starbucks cup left on set, a boom operator, the guy that just holds the microphone out. He ends up getting his leg not cropped out properly in post it. I understand when mistakes happen, but these motherfrackers at Disney are lazy. So the Jedi Wookiee walks in, right? First time we see him, other than that little clip that we got at the end of the previous episode, Wookiee walks in. Dude is straight up just the guy in the mask, and then his body is not Wookiee. He's just his normal self underneath it, and you can tell because of how big the head is compared to the rest of the body and how skinny the body is. And then the next time, and these are all on screen for those of you that might be listening on your favorite podcast app. Thank you guys. Give us a follow there. But later on in the next scenes, you can see him without the robes, and you can see that, yes, definitely the Wookiee body is much bigger than you see when he first shows up. They are lazy. Their costume design is lazy. Their set design can sometimes be freaking lazy and claustrophobic. They don't care. So that's why.
Cost what, 120 million pounds?
Dude, it's like 20 million like some odd dollars an episode, man. So that's why.
And you can see where the money is in screen, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't look like a high budget show, really.
And that's why. Cam, that's why you could definitely have them all dead by the explosion, and I'm not saying they are, but you could have them dead by the explosion.
I concede the point,
and them not have anything because they were freaking lazy.
See if it ends up that May caused the fire, she killed them, and there's nothing else going on there, right? I will concede this is an absolute clusterfuck. I will concede that. And I did say that to Shockey as well, because he kind of thinks he's just so annoyed that he just thinks, that's probably what happened.
I actually think the Sith are involved. I do.
I mean, this is the Russian Doll creator, right? And Russian, do you know about Russian Doll?
Yes, right? I liked the show. Christine and I liked season 1 a lot.
Big
season
twists
2
in it that move the plot in completely different directions all of a sudden. I think that's just her style. It's just that I think there's a lot of people, there is a lot of Star Wars fans out there that don't get that they're doing that and think this has been played straight. And I'm wondering, is this just not the kind of drama for them? I don't know. Maybe they don't watch that kind of thing normal. But to me, it's so obvious that, from somebody that's done a little bit of writing myself, I'm not saying I would have done it exactly the same way, but I can see where they're setting up the chessboard pieces. Do you know what I mean? To come into line later on. But again, will it actually happen? Will it be, that happened, this happened, or will it be, it was just that? That's a bit boring compared to what I thought it could be. Like my imagination can put this story in some really good sort of situations from where we are now. That could be a really interesting, dramatic story for this point on out, but I'm not necessarily convinced they'll do that, because I kind of thought that's where we were going a little bit in Ahsoka, and then it just fizzled out into nothing at the end. And the end was
so much more
than the start of Ahsoka, which was almost like what? It was just such a poor finale in the last couple of episodes. So I'm scared that they've just done something like that again. And I absolutely accept that I think they have been a little bit lazy with some of these shows. It can almost feels like they've been and I think they have been in a rush to get these out the door because they're under pressure from Disney to produce content.
But even when you rush at that much money, that look, man, you're telling me nobody looked at that
I'm not
Wookiee
making excuses.
and said... No, I know you're not. I'm just saying two people out there, like you're in charge of this stuff. You're the costume designer, production. You're well, whatever. Nobody looked at it and said that looks stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is.
I mean, it's clear
willful
that they've
ignorance.
that they've used his head and then have CGI'd another body in there just for quickness rather than get the actor to dress up in the proper suit and be on set.
All they did was put his mask on over. They put a person in a regular Jedi uniform. I think he does have some hairy legs. Okay?
Probably is Jonas Sutumo because it's quite
and
tall,
all they did was put his mask on top of that. That's why he's wearing the full robes. It is not CGI. It is legitimately that dude, because he's really tall. It's a real body, and it matches, and the hair matches the body. I'm pixel peeking a bit. If that's CGI, that's even worse. Because if it was CGI, why not just CGI the Wookiee body itself, like in size?
And maybe they didn't want to make him too warm, but that's not a good excuse. Because
there is no excuse.
But he should have been wearing the Wookiee costume, then he should have had to
and
put
then
the
robes
Jedi
over
robes
it
on top of that. Yeah, and then it would have looked fine. You're absolutely right.
It would have looked fine.
And there isn't any reason why they couldn't have done that we know of. Anyway.
Nope.
So yeah, some little things like that could have absolutely been done better.
And I got two other things about the kind of like mystery, if you will. When people are wondering like who or what is bad and whatnot, why would everyone's been asking why would the one Jedi self delete if they didn't do anything bad? And again, I pointed out to you, I was like, they feel like if they had never intervened, none of the bad stuff would have happened. Or two, they feel like they didn't get the kids first, because like we've theorized, maybe the Sith and the Jedi are both after them at the same time, and they feel like, oh, we didn't move fast enough. When they all see, when the ones that May kills, when they see her, they don't think she's May. They think she's Osha. She even introduces herself in a way that plays off of her being Osha. Because as far as they know, May died. And I don't care to go back and watch episode 2 again to sit there and see if there's anything that gives away that he knew it was May. But, freaking Trinity, she doesn't realize it's May until, real up close and personal, pulls down the mask and all of that. So there is that. And as far as May being freaking psycho, they show her having all this anger, but it's Osha that's the loner one. One is happy with everything that they have there, but the other one wants to get away. But again, it's weird how they do that. But May does commit animal torture. She's torturing little butterfly, and she's the one that's like, I effing hate you, I will end you, I will kill you all, which again played out really, really weird, because all you see is kind of angsty preteen kids bickering between the two.
Right, the fan theory is that she already knows they're all dead when she turns up at Osha's prison, which might make sense why she's like, I'll kill you, you're not leaving anywhere, because she thinks the Jedi have done it, or she knows the Jedi have done it, or something like that. I don't know. But that's possible. There is a time skip, and between Osha being sent to that room and May turning up, some shit happened, and we don't know what that necessarily was. So some of the fans think that the Sith have done something to put them against each other, like they've influenced so they didn't have to take, because they remember one of the things that we have to have in this is that the Jedi can't be aware the Sith exists, because that would break the canon of the Phantom Menace. We've always known that.
Cam, the canon is whatever it needs to be.
I know, but it just doesn't work. I mean, it's just a stupid line for the episode 1 for them, for the Jedi to go, the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years.
I know. And again, that is George Lucas's fault for pigeonholing that Sith means something very specific instead of dark side user, even though in the EU it meant something even more different than it does now. And also the rule of two being taken into such literalness, as if in an entire galaxy, two other people couldn't be like, we're the two. We're the two. Like, you could literally in a galaxy of power hungry assholes that want to fight each other for power. You don't think you're going to have multiple? We're the two. We're the master. And
what caused the Sith Wars, though, I suppose the whole point of Darth Bane doing that supposedly was that by the point he institutes this, he kind of just sits back and lets everybody else kill themselves off.
But again, it goes back to,
and then he's the only one passing those secrets on.
But again, the idea that this is in a galaxy that used to be a really, really big thing with a really large population, it's poor writing, and that's George's fault. No doubt, 100%. It was a bad idea to take it that freaking literally. Of course, that's what Darth Bane was trying to do. Of course it was, but it doesn't work that way. There's no way everyone that's power literally stops and says, you know what, you're right, we're going to follow it now. We weren't following it before, but we're going to follow it now. No, they didn't, and there continued to be splinter groups and conflict, and not only that, but you could have the master and apprentice, and then a whole army of other Sith Force users. Though it wasn't like there was just two, and so many people get wrapped up on that.
You got Ventress, you got Maul's brother, and Maul, and tried to kind of
and they always try to sit there and say in books and comics that it's the method, it's them setting up their own thing. Then why do so many people balk at the idea of there being more? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's almost the opposite, or it's similar into the Order 66 thing. It's like people expect it to be this way, like all these Jedi were going to die, and then they didn't. They expect the Sith to be this way, and then whenever it's inconvenient or convenient, they write it differently.
There's a point in the Clone Wars where Palpatine senses like Maul and Savage suppressed. That's what it is, and decides, like, he senses a disturbance and thinks, right, it's time to go, and I'll show you to piss ants what the dark side really like, and he kicks their ass because he's worried that they are a threat to him now. And it could be something like the dark side senses the dark side, which I've always kind of thought makes sense anyway. And that he senses that as a disturbance, but the Jedi don't sense anything when that's going on. Because clearly the Sith must be very good at hiding their abilities from the Jedi, because Palpatine did it.
Everyone
right
is
under
these
the nose
days
of Windu, Yoda, the entire Jedi Council.
But everyone can hide. Apparently, everyone can hide, and I don't like when everyone's special. No one is, and Star Wars is quickly running into that being an issue where everyone is
I don't like the Jedi being able to hide the fact that they are, because from another Force user, let's say,
it's supposed to take a lot of effort and training.
It's not something they would have ever practiced to do, because what purpose would have it ever served? Whereas you can totally understand why that's a key survival skill for Sith.
100%. There's an anime called Freerun Beyond Journey's End, and in it, mana magic can be sensed by other magic users, right? And you can clearly tell roughly how much mana someone can draw on by sensing it. But people have learned, and demons have learned, to kind of constrain it for short periods of time to kind of surprise, hide, whatnot, or fool someone. Well, what happens if you had someone that spent every day of their very long elf life, well over 1,000 years, training to hold it in? That makes sense. So, but everyone being able to do it is stupid.
That's what I always felt was like Palpatine, but I never felt that Maul had that ability, which is why, like, when Qui-Gon comes up against Maul, he knows he senses the dark side, all that sort of stuff, because Maul's revealed himself. He's not as skilled, he can't do what Palpatine's never showed him that, and I doubt he would ever have showed Vader it, because by the time Vader comes around, again, there's no need to learn that skill anymore for Vader, because Palpatine no longer needs it even, at that point.
Now there really
because
were
the
only
only
two.
people that are left he doesn't care about. Normal people can't tell whether he can or not. All he needs to do is not use the Force in front of them, and even then, what they're going to do,
So
So I don't know. It's a funny one. It's a strange show. It's a strange show. I'll give you that.
Yeah, definitely. Last few gripes. The Goku hands for the Force, all of them doing this. Come on, guys. No. It looked dumb. And I love anime. I love Goku. I think Star Wars Visions Part 1 had a lot of good stuff, but no Goku hands for Force blasts.
Yeah, I like more subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the singing and the ceremony, the ritual was awful. Dark and unnatural powers bringing us to the twins. Let's talk about that, actually. Well, let me do my gripes and then we'll talk the Plagueis thing, and then we'll wrap it up from there. It's funny that the mom talks about a kid being old enough to choose to test, but then says you're young, you'll change like the seasons. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how prophetic or not prophetic, but how poignant or something like that, or how on the nose for some discussions about youth today.
Especially considering she then leaves the Jedi herself later on, so she does change her mind and goes a different way again.
Like I said, it's maybe a real thing. Just
her nature, though, that she is one of those flippy floppy, I'll go where I want kind of people. But and
again, I left it up to say, hey, it could just be coming off wrong because of bad direction and or bad writing. Let's talk about the dark and unnatural ways to bring Force users to life. I think it needs to be said, guys, a reminder that Anakin was not created by Palpatine. Palpatine did not use the dark and unnatural stuff, nor Plagueis to create Anakin.
It was stated in the Plagueis, one of the Plagueis books, I don't know if it's canon anymore, that Plagueis' experiments that they theorized Anakin may have been
I think that's old EU. I think that's old EU. Yeah.
So as they played with this, but he was the Force's natural response. So
but the canon comic book where they showed that was a possibility was Anakin's head, and they came out and said, no, Palpatine's not. This is...
Yeah, that was all in Anakin's head. Yeah.
This is people trying to do something. So I will say that I don't think this shatters the canon. There's lots of things Disney has done to shatter canon. I don't think this one necessarily shatters canon, nor does it take away from Anakin's birth of the Force, by the Force, and through the Force. That being said, I don't know why they...
Depending on how it comes out like that.
Depending on how it
one
ends
thing
up playing
the
out.
showrunner has said is that she won't give a definitive answer. She said that characters will have different opinions about what that means, and you will find out those characters' opinions of what that means. You will then need to decide which of them are right and which of them are wrong.
Well, do you think? Do you think this means Plagueis is someone that's already, like, Plagueis himself was part of this situation, or Plagueis' master?
Is a bit young at
we
the
don't
moment.
know how old he is right now,
this
do we?
Could be the start. This could, well, I mean, people have worked it out theoretically, but again, it's difficult because the canon did change with Plagueis. And we don't have a birth date for Plagueis. We don't know exactly how long he lived for. But people have worked out theoretically that Plagueis should be getting born sometime soon. He's not an adult yet that's going to be a Sith Lord.
So it might be Plagueis' master.
It could be Tenebrous or whatever his minister was. But it could be that whatever powers they're experimenting with, this is them starting to play about with it, and it's Plagueis that's the one who actually masters it years later. It may be that they helped the witches with this experiment because it helped they wanted to see what happened themselves. And it could be that they fancied getting themselves a hold of these twins themselves to experiment on them further or do something else with. I don't know. I mean, that would be interesting. See if that's what I'm talking about potential twists where the Sith were really there influencing all that. They were the dark and twisted that helped them. That would be cool. but they could also just not go that way and leave it as a complete mystery, and it was just the witches that did it on their own without any help from the Sith, in which case you'd be a bit like, what was the point then?
Oh,
What was the point?
that's one of the things that I'm really kind of curious about. Because this is a little different than IVF, which I'm sure exists in the Star Wars universe, or
I was
surrogacy,
thinking, could they not
which
just have
also
done normal
exists in Star
normal,
Wars universe.
like
So
IVF or something?
like so legitimately, my serious question is why? Why are the twins being created? Because if it literally is just two women that were like, look,
No,
we
that
just
doesn't
want.
make sense. Yeah,
It seems
Well,
it seems
might be
so.
that, but that would be bad.
It seems so. Guys, I can't stress how not extreme I am, but it seems so just. It's June, guys, and to have them literally just use dark powers to have a baby because that's what they really wanted. If it goes down that route and that's it, it's literally just a bit of
just because they wanted kids.
Imagination and wishing from here on Earth that this was a real possibility. It would be so frustratingly annoying.
That would be true.
It would be so bad.
This is supposed to be a much more technologically advanced than us, like by thousands and thousands of years more technologically advanced than us, to the point where they've forgotten tech that they used to know even in the past. At this point, they can clone things. I mean, they can clone people really successfully.
Yeah, there's no reason they couldn't.
The only thing that they can't clone is force abilities. So. Yeah, I mean,
but you don't even need to. You don't even need.
If it was just we want to have a kid together, they would have been able to do that. Surely,
Cam. You don't even need. You don't even need to clone them. Literally, just doing a DNA extraction and putting
an IVF thing.
I mean, it would be IVF
or they could have
plus
just got a male donor. Or
they could have done that. But even if they wanted both, you could say it was IVF plus, that they emptied out a sperm cell, put one mom's stuff in there, and then use the other mom's egg, and just like I said, IVF plus, but
like convert the because they're more advanced than us. Yeah, for me, it only works if they're trying to create these twins
special
as something more, as special, something a bit special, or they've done something a little bit different here, which they're not telling us about, and they're not telling the twins about either. And if there isn't, then that's going to be a little bit. Again, it'll be that could be interesting, ended up being boring, kind of deal, which is not really doesn't make for good drama. So I don't know.
They've really got to change things up. Because if next episode is not better, and I don't necessarily mean that it has to be good, it just needs to be better. I don't know if I want to watch anymore until it's all out, so I can just finish it up and be done with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe even just watch the last episode. Because I don't care, Cam. That's the other thing. I don't care even right now.
If the journey's bad, I want to be able to say, waited for it to get good and it didn't. I don't want to just watch the end and go, oh no, I need to watch back because this kind of went the way I wanted, because that was kind of enjoyable. What I will say is some of the reviewers who hated episode 3 all said episode 4 was a hell of a lot better. That doesn't mean they like the show.
It doesn't take much to be better than an F, right? I mean, they could about do nothing and just have like tranquil Star Wars music for an episode, and I'd be like, you know what, that was better.
I don't think I've ever I mean, it must be I don't think I'd ever give a show like an F for being that bad, unless it was like something absolutely
I feel it's awful, man. I feel and plus, like I said, not only were there all these things that I disliked, but on top of that, it was boring. And then the laziness. Oh, dude, the Wookiee Jedi is like half that F. I'm not even lying. And
it doesn't look very expensive. It was dull. It was a.
Is this a month? Is this is Disney like Sony, and they just launder money through their projects? Because, like, why would Madam Web be a thing other than money laundering? And where is the $20 million in episode 3 of this?
Other than Madam Web, all those movies have made money for Sony. Not much, but enough to make more than the budget. So they've made money.
I actually don't know if Venom 2 was profitable.
I think Morbius even made money, and that was horrific.
Nah, I don't. I'd have to double check on Morbius. I think Venom 2 was very close. But I have to double check it with but Morbius made nothing. Anyways, we'll talk box office stuff later. But nice, it was a good money laundering joke. Any other thoughts on episode 3 of The Acolyte, Cam?
No, it would have to be some dramatically cool stuff that happens later on for me to go back and watch this again and go, oh, I didn't see this and do that. And I can't see it being that good. So I still think, even if the show ends up being decent overall, I still think I'd probably look back at episode 3 and say, you could have did that differently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll be rewriting this like
the right people. Like write that one, you didn't have the right people directing that one. I don't know.
Yeah, we could have rewritten Boba Fett. We could have rewritten Mando season 3.
I mean, I could come up with a good ending to this from here, but that's not the way I would have did that episode.
Yeah,
it was too much all in one episode for the one thing. That could have been.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us today. Thanks, Cam, for hanging out. Shockey, you suck. No, I'm joking. What? I don't even know what that is. Sorry. You guys make sure you check out more content here on the Genreverse YouTube channel. Lots of anime stuff, of course. The Cantina, other podcasts and shows, live streams, interviews, all sorts of fun stuff. Genreverse Sports, if you're into football, check that out, especially during the Euro 2024. Do you guys call it Euros or Euro?
Euros. Kind of thing, like the currency almost, like, but it existed before the currency.
But you put the S there, right?
So
it's the Euros.
Full name is the European Championships.
Okay, so there's where the S comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, because every logo and thing just says Euro. You guys check that out. Genreverse Podcast Network, all your favorite podcast apps, merch linked down below, and of course LRM Online for all of your entertainment news needs, celebrity interviews, stuff from events like freaking film events, red carpet premieres and whatnot, all at the LRM YouTube channel, lrmonline.com. Anything else, Cam?
Nope, unless you are really interested in writing for us at the moment, because we're always looking for new writers to come in and give a new voice to lrmonline.com. So if you'd like to see yourself writing some stories on a website, and writing about what you want to write about, the stories you like, whether that be news stories or like just your opinions on what's going on, then we'd like to hear from you. You can contact us. Probably the best person to contact is Shockey himself, which is Michael at lrmonline.com, because he handles that kind of stuff. But you can also reach out to myself or Kyle. Our details I think are on the screen as well.
Down below somewhere.
Cool.
All right, guys. We will maybe see you next week. May the force be with you.